at Works. This is our second week. How exciting! Our second week with our Marketing Basics Guide 101. This is what week 2 will entail. We would like to thank everyone for joining us again, and we definitely are excited for our panelists to bring forth some great marketing techniques for each entrepreneur business. Now we will have opening remarks from our president, Dr. Leah L. H. Hill.
Good day. I learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how they made you feel. And that's a quote by Maya Angelou. And all of you all who know me know I love to quote some quotes. Now, I don't know a lot about marketing, but as a psychologist, I do know a lot about people and I do know a lot about feelings. And I believe they connect or intersect somewhere at the highest level of marketing. So I just want to welcome everyone, Mrs. Leslie Truelove, our speaker, my sorors, and all of our guests. Welcome. Again, my name is Leah Hill. I'm the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Lambda Tau Omega chapter. And it is a privilege and a pleasure and a privilege to welcome everybody today. And so we are so delighted to have you all here to participate in our second installment, as was mentioned, of Ingenuity at Work, Marketing Basics 101. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Lambda Tau Omega chapter is committed to promoting, sharing, and encouraging the community to take charge of their finances and so that they can leave their own economic legacy. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, and we greatly appreciate that intro. Now we will have opening remarks from our program chairman, Michelle R. Clark.
You want me? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I placed myself on mute. Good evening, everyone. I am Michelle Clark, and I'm the program chairman for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Lambda Tau Omega chapter. And I'm so excited that you have joined us today for Ingenuity at Work. So for those who are not sure what the series is about, let me just take a few minutes to give you an update of what Ingenuity at Work is and what you'll learn with this particular series. You'll learn everything you need to know from preparing for entrepreneurship. That includes building your business, ensuring your financial strength, promoting your brand, raising capital, opening for business, and so much more. A lot of people are not sure what they need to do before taking the plunge, wondering if entrepreneurship is really right for you, and do you really have the resources to make it happen? That's why we have created Ingenuity at Work series to help you get started on your entrepreneurial journey. Whether you already have a business, you're trying to grow your business, or you're thinking about opening a business. So today we're so excited to have Leslie Truelove, who is a marketing guru, professional, if you will, who has tremendous business and corporate experience, and we're so privileged to have her here today. So I hope that you enjoy it. I do want to mention that we will be taping this series. So I know in the past, in the series that we had last week, people were using their cell phones and taking screenshots of the different slides. Don't you worry, it's going to be taped. We just want you to be able to learn, to listen, sit back and enjoy this series. So once again, please enjoy today. Let a friend know, come back next week because we have 2 more weeks after this. So we hope that you'll join us again for Ingenuity at Work. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. And now we will have the introduction of Ms. Brittany Wright. Brittany, I lost the thing, forgive me. Brittany, for the last 10 years, has helped brands and companies celebrate their missions and milestones and services with authentic digital storytelling and marketing tactics. She is an activated media campaign person and she believes in partnering to make sure that consumer brands such as Colgate, Johnson & Johnson, and Mondelez to raise awareness and provide access to dental care for many around in our community. Most recently, Brittany has developed an app, experiences for conferences attended by 15,000 while simultaneously managing on-site media engagements. Brittany is someone we celebrate as she has a bachelor's degree in advertising, a master's, and she is also a holistic life coach certified, is holistic life coach, and she's certified. She is an avid traveler. She recently visited all 7 continents. When she's not listening to Stevie, she's listening to house and the Afrobeat and neo soul. She is the proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Lambda Tau Omega chapter. Brittany, please join us.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am truly humbled to be a part of this panel, but I also would like to introduce someone who is a big part of educating everyone today about marketing and just the tactics. I first would like to introduce Leslie Truelove. She is the Chief Marketing and Sales Officer for Cleveland Avenue. She is a veteran of brand and consumer marketing, and she's responsible for leading the marketing and consumer insights functions there at Cleveland Avenue, which is a food and beverage investment and consulting firm in Chicago. I would also like to add that it's a Black-owned company. Over the course of her career, she has worked for large companies such as McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Coors Brewing Company, and she has been responsible for managing multi-million-dollar food and beverage businesses, developing new food and beverage platforms, developing new national and ethnic and local brand plans, such as creating award-winning and brand content. You might have heard of one of these initiatives that's made a couple of headlines, all-day breakfast at McDonald's. I know I'm always on the cusp of the 10:30 mark, so I'm glad that I could go at 11 o'clock and still get breakfast. I saw some hands going up. In her current role at Cleveland Avenue, she is key and she has the key responsibility of helping brands and businesses grow and scale to apply strategic thinking, marketing strategies, and consumer insights to solve business challenges. She has an MBA from the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University, and her undergraduate degree is at Emory University. To continue to sharpen her marketing skills, she recently completed the Kellogg Executive Education Digital Marketing Strategies course, and she is a mom of 2 active sons, both 15 and 11, and she enjoys working out and being physically fit, and she is active in several organizations in her community. I'm very honored to join you, Leslie, and I am so excited to hear what you will bring to the table today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, wow, look at, I can't believe like 7 continents and I'm following that. So that's amazing. So thank you very much, Brittany, for that warm introduction. And before I get started, I just want to a minute just say, I'm really excited, everybody, to be here. It's an honor to have a chance to share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way. I know many of you are entrepreneurs and you're interested in either growing your business or getting started. And I hope what I want to do is just share nuggets of information for you as we get going. But before I do get started, I do want to just say a thank you to the ladies of Lambda Tau Omega. I can't say it the way you guys do, but I want to say thank you to you guys for putting this together, Lambda Tau Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, for your vision and your ingenuity, really to push this forward and to grow wealth in our community. So congratulations to you. To President Hill, thank you for having me. A big thank you to Lisa Harrell, one of your chapter members who I just love at Cleveland Avenue. She is my HR lead, and we just hit it off, and she and asked me to think about this and to invite me. So I thank you for that. Some shout outs to family and friends. I sent some things out, so I think quite a few folks are on. I appreciate you guys coming out and sharing. I work for an African-American owned company. I'm very, very honored to have Liz Thompson, Liz and Don Thompson of founders of Cleveland Avenue. They're on the line and they're here, as well as other folks from Cleveland Avenue, because we are a big family. So those are all the opening parts to say thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Now we're gonna jump right in. So we're in virtual school. My kids are in virtual school. So I just got my chalkboard out and was like, let's do some marketing 101. But before we jump into that, I want to just talk a little bit about me. The next slide, I think, please. There we go. So topics for today, the welcome, obviously the welcome background. We're going to talk about marketing. What is it? What's the purpose of it? We're going to talk about some key principles of marketing that you may have heard before. I'm going to go into that. Talk a little bit about application of marketing and digital marketing. Part of digital marketing is social media. And then there's some other topics that have popped up. Because there is such a large audience, we're not going to go super deep into like social media posting. But between Brittany and I think we'll be able to answer quite a few questions, or at least, kind of point you in the right direction. So with the next slide, just a little bit about me. I love to do things in pictures, and you'll kind of see that. So I do work for Cleveland Avenue. I have 2 kids, a girl and a boy, 15 and 11, soon to be 16 and 12. And we were very busy this summer, obviously getting out and making sure that our voices were heard about our lives and that they matter. I've had the fortune of working for very large companies, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Coors. And I really learned quite a bit about marketing, but I also have passion for my community. I'm the vice president on the board for Oak Park Ed Foundation. I'm a proud member of the Western Cook County chapter of Jack and Jill. And I'm just about to start as a project accelerator for ACE, which supports companies in the west side and south side to help them grow their businesses. I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta and 30 plus years, 35 years actually. And I'm an avid runner, worker outer, Orange Theory Fitness, trying to figure it all out, just trying to stay fit mentally and physically. So, but that's a little bit about me. In terms of kind of just next slide, thinking about what we are getting into, I kind of took a step back and thought about who's my audience, and let me kind of understand them a little bit. So Black entrepreneurs, I know there's probably several entrepreneurs here, but I would imagine Black entrepreneurs. I had a chance to find something from this organization, and they did a research with over 3,000 consumers, I believe, or 3,000 business owners, and they looked into, who are these small businesses, and what's interesting is the majority are business services, health and beauty, are also food and beverage, but these kind of make up this 3,100 people from in terms of a mixture. And there are all types of age ranges from millennials to boomers, that type of thing, and men and women. So this is kind of a survey of what they're thinking and what they do. But I think the next slide is really interesting and kind of taps into why marketing, if you go to that next slide. As they're business owners, what are the top challenges of being a business owner? Lack of capital, marketing and advertising, and time management. So we're going to kind of drill in and try to give some overview about marketing and advertising to help answer some of those questions, because that was a group of 3,100 people, but they probably represent some of the things that you're thinking as well. So getting into why you need help with marketing, going to that next slide, I love this word chart, because when you say marketing to people, this kind of comes up, right? It's just business marketing, marketing strategy, research, concepts, all these different things you're hearing. And it's very confusing if you didn't grow up in that field. Like, what is marketing? And so there's a reason why people have that as their number 2 concern about owning a small business. And then also the next slide is really looking at social media. You hear all about Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and you got to tweet and you got to send a messenger and Snapchat. And those just a lot of questions around that. So to get in and kind of provide some basics, let's go to that next slide and just kind of get in some definitions. So what is marketing? I went online and just kind of looked at a couple of different kind of quotes and what people are doing. And so you have everything an organization does to build a relationship. It's a concentrated effort to push your brand across a variety of platforms. It's about finding your ideal customer or to share your message. It's an act of driving profitable customer action. There's all these things. I kind of thought about it in the next slide and came up with my own definition, which kind of pulls all this stuff together. And really, it's a strategic approach to drive profitable business growth, engage with your customers, and communicate your brand. And it's fun. It should be fun. It shouldn't be confusing. So I use some of these words specifically. It's a strategic approach. You should be strategic and thoughtful about what you're doing about your business. And I'll talk a little bit more about the strategy. Driving profitable growth is really, really important. You can drive growth, but if you haven't thought about every time I sell something, is it profitable? You're going to be in a problem later on when you're really selling fast and you have your cash flows hurt. So you got to think about being profitable. You have to engage and build strong customers and loyalty. And so that's really, really important to have engaged customers because they will become your biggest advocates and your biggest fans. And then you got to communicate, why is your brand different than everybody else's? No, so it doesn't matter if you have a fitness studio or you're a caterer or you're, you own a restaurant. You have to determine what's different about my brand than everybody else's. Next slide, please. So I'm going to kind of hit the key marketing principles and talk and give some examples. So the first principle, if you go to that next slide, is something that you may have heard of before, which is know your target market. So I think before you can market or do anything, you have to know who is my target market. And it can't just be a woman 25. It really has to really think about not only the demographics, 25 to 35, but sociographically, what social status might they be in? Psychographic, what kind of things do they enjoy? You may have somebody that's 25 to 35, go back please, 25 to 35 that is really interested in eating healthy and being a vegan, but you may have another 25 to 35 that loves global cuisines. So you've got to understand just what's the richness underneath my target market and really understand who they are and not just, it's 25 to 35. So that's your first principle, to really make sure you know who your target market is. And you can get to that by looking and seeing who your customers are, asking questions, and developing relationships with them. Now to the next slide. The next principle I want to share with you is the 4 Ps of marketing. So you probably have heard of product, price, promotion, and place. But I like this slide because it adds in positioning. So from a product perspective, what is your product or your service really about? What are some of the benefits? Why is it different? How do you talk about it? That's really, really key. Pricing, we talked about this a little bit before. How do you price your product? Again, you really need to be a student of your business. And if you have a catering company and to put on a catering meal, you charge somebody $200 for that meal because it sounds like a good price, but it costs you $400. You've lost $200 on that sale right there. So you really need to think strategically about how do you want to price your product or your service. Promotion, you can promote it in many different ways. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into some of the activation pieces. And then another really important piece is about positioning. How do you want to position your product? And this next example, I think, is a great example of something that's a standard product, and different companies have positioned it different ways. So looking at this next slide, you'll see some water bottles, the 4 Ps and looking at water bottles. And I was just, it looks like we lost the pricing here when we changed some of the background, but I looked at that, and I don't know about you if you've looked at water bottles, but there are the Yeti, Swell, Camelback, and this Gatorade one. And what was really interesting when I did a little research about them is not only are they water bottles, but they're priced differently. I think the Yeti bottle, $29.95 for an 18-ounce bottle. The Swell bottle is $35. And the Camelback is $14.99 for 750 milliliters, which is probably close to about 16 ounces. And then the 32-ounce one is a plastic bottle. But I just was, and it's interesting. I did this exercise with some elementary school students before COVID started. I asked them about water bottles, and they each said, "Oh, well, the Swell bottle, that's something my teacher would drink, and the sports bottle is something an athlete." And so, everything communicates, and just with the design, how these things are set up, they are very intentional about selecting the name, the shape. And when I did a little bit of research, what's interesting is they all give you water, but Swell is about everyday hydration and blending form and function of water bottles. Yeti is about having a cooler and having different versions of coolers in different ways, whether they be a hard cooler or a soft cooler. Camelback is really about continuously reinventing outdoor hydration and solutions that empower people to be an active lifestyle. And Gatorade, I think really, they're about hydration, but remember Gatorade has a Gatorade-like product, but they're using this bottle really more about branding and putting their brand out there with athletes. So very, very much the same product, but with product, price, promotion, and positioning, they each are targeting different people, and they're able to charge a pretty penny for that type of product. So again, that's the power of thinking about your product strategically, and how you want to organize and strategize around it. Next slide, please. So what's the purpose of marketing? Why do we do marketing? And really, if you had people at the top, you're really trying to drive people through this funnel. You want to raise awareness about your brand. You want to get them to consider your brand. You want to convert that consideration to a purchase or a visit to your restaurant or a purchase of your catering. And then you want to turn them from being loyal. Every time I'm having a dinner party, I'm going to this caterer, or every time I want to go to this restaurant, I'm going here. And eventually you want them to be an advocate, which is like, oh, I need a caterer. You need to call such and such. So that's the purpose of marketing, is to really drive, and in different places, you're driving awareness, consideration, conversion, all the way down to advocacy. And the outcome of that is money, increased sales, and you're happy as well as happy customers. Next slide. The next principle I want to talk on briefly is about branding. And I like this quote from Jeff Bezos. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. And that your brand is not only your company brand, but also your personal brand. And you really want that brand to really go and really be thoughtful about what your brand is. I like this next slide because it really spends a little bit of time kind of defining it. It's really, branding is creating a desired image for a product or company in the mind of your customer or your consumer. And that can be done with logos, with slogans, differentiation, and user experience. A brand is not just a logo, it's the overall impression and experience that you want to give your audience and your customers. It allows you to express the value that you provide to others. It's really all about, it's a reflection of you or a reflection of your company. And so that's really, really important as you think about your company, you think about your branding. And this next slide I thought was just kind of a fun exercise of thinking about brands. We all know Nordstrom, right? But how is Nordstrom different than Macy's? Or different than Saks? Nordstrom is known from a customer service perspective to have amazing customer service, and that your customer or user experience is amazing. That's the BMW symbol. I didn't have to put that on there. And, if I said the ultimate driving machine, you'd say that's not right because that's BMW, but that's a Mercedes brand. So again, these brands are with us everywhere. That green bag, what's that? Everybody remembers that, right? Marshall Fields, Garrett's popcorn. Amazon has that smile on there because whenever you get your Amazon box, you're smiling. Taste 222, Cleveland Avenue owns that. I had to put that brand on there. Again, we are building our brand. Some brands don't even need a name. You see the swoosh, you know what that is. And I had to put Harold's on there because I did a little just search of like local brands and what I thought was interesting is Harold's I'm not from Chicago, but I obviously like Harold's chicken. And some people might like Uncle Remus, and there's other ones I know. But what I thought was they had like a little icon of a guy chasing a chicken, and over the years it's changed. But what has always been the same is that H. And the brand experience with user experience is most people from Chicago, the user experience is what the mild and the hot soaked on top of your chicken, you kind of smothered chicken. I don't like that. And so when from Chicagoans, they're like, you don't like that? What? So I like to dip, but I do like the hot and mild together because that's a user experience. So Harold's has found a way to really demonstrate and define their brand. What is your brand and how do you differentiate it? How do you make sure you stand out there so that people can talk about it when you're not in the room? Next slide. I'm not going to go deep into the marketing strategy because, again, I'm trying to hit the highlights and leave time for discussion. But there is really this whole strategy of thinking through what have I done in the past, what's worked, what hasn't worked, doing some market research. You don't have to be a big, gigantic company to do market research. If you're online, look at your consumer comments and see what your customers are saying about you, or when they come in your store, in your restaurant, what kind of feedback do you get? Are they saying, oh, glowing things? Are they giving you some feedback? You can develop, you do your own research. What value do you offer to your customer? What makes you different than everybody else? That's the value proposition. And then you can go around the horn to set your goals, remember awareness, consideration, that type of thing. And then you put plans in place. So this marketing strategy is something that takes time. You probably need to think about doing your marketing strategy maybe one time every year, thinking about it, looking back at it. But that's something, again, that you can use as a process to help you define how do you want to market your companies and your services. Next slide, please. So getting into digital marketing and bringing marketing to life. Thank goodness that in the midst of COVID, we have digital marketing, because now you can still, even though you can't be physically with people, we can reach people. And digital marketing means so many things. It's branding, social media, content marketing, email marketing, web design, search engine optimization, video, having an app. There's all these things around digital marketing. We could go deep into each one of those. I'm not going to do that, but I do want to spend a little bit of time on social media if you go to the next slide. So social media is everything that you see on that screen and then some. And I just want to go a little bit deeper to kind of give you some guardrails around social media and how to think about social media for you and your companies and your services. Next slide, please. So going back again to that consumer target, who are you trying to reach? Just if you look at the slide and take in all the information, the billion and millions is not necessarily in context for you and your business, but it gives you a sense of how large and massive these platforms are. As much as everybody talks about Facebook, Facebook reaches over almost 2 billion people. And I think this is worldwide. These are monthly users. And this was as of January 2018 for my source there. So you can see mostly women, men and women, 18 to 49. So Instagram, that's kind of where the millennials are hanging out. It's smaller relative to Facebook, but if you're targeting 18 to 29, that's where you have to be because they're not really playing as much in the Facebook space. They are, but really Instagram is where you want to be. The whole tweeting is smaller, but it's also, people are really engaged in that. The red icon is YouTube, LinkedIn, and I think this B, I'm not sure what that B is. Brittany, I have to ask you. I think that might be an old Blink list. I'm not sure what that B is.
I think that might be that's probably for blogs. That could be a blog or like blog feeds.
Yeah. So
that often.
Thank you. So again, just more for looking at this page, more for context of the size of the platform and who generally goes to this platform in terms of age. Again, underneath that and a lot of their tools, you can dig in and better understand some of the psychographics and demographics. Next slide, please, because I'm watching my time. So this is a really great slide, and I think as you're trying to understand social media, this is something that you can really dig into to better understand how to use Facebook, because all the social media platforms aren't the same. For Facebook, it's really about building relationships with people, and how people post it's really a little bit more about engagement. Whereas Instagram is really about quick conversations, it's relationships, but it's more visual. Tweeting is really about articles and connecting with people. YouTube is like a lot of a how-to, how do I do this, how do I do that? I'll tell you, a lot of the YouTube hair folks are really on there. You can get all kinds of tips on, you know, how to do a twist out, how to do this, how to do that. So if you're in that space, or you're in a space around self-care, you really should think about doing some YouTube videos. So again, a lot of information, but you can really kind of see what's the demographic, what's the purpose of the platform, what's it best for, and what are some of the downsides of it, of using them. You know, it's a tweet, you can only have 140 characters. So you're only going to say so much there. And there's also like a strategy around using that. So who's your audience? How can you reach them? And then what are your goals when you think about social? Next slide. Oh, Instagram now has video. Thank you. That's true. It does, the Instagram stories. So as a small business owner, you know, some real quick tips I would say around digital marketing is, what are your business goals? Are you trying to raise awareness about your brand? Maybe you're just getting started. Are you trying to drive more trial and traffic, so you want consideration and conversion? Are you trying to get people that have been in your organization or been with you for a while to become more loyal and visit you more often? So what are you trying to achieve? And then based on those goals, you then want to build your media presence, your social media presence, based on some of the things I showed you before. Email marketing is really, really important. What I've seen really is when I go to somebody's website, after I've been on that website for a bit, something will pop up and say, hey, I'll give you 10% off if you give me your email address. They're building their email because they then will kind of recontact me to keep me, again, going back for conversion and loyalty, because when they have my email, they now have me, and they can talk to me independently and connect to me and communicate to me the things they want to. Think about your website marketing. We talked a little bit about video messaging, whether is really, really important, because you can bring your brand to life even more so, and you can control that in other ways. The things that have asterisks, if you're a bigger company, we're starting to see in-house digital marketing and print marketing, but that might be too expensive for smaller businesses. Next slide. This is a little busy, but you know, when you go back and take a look at the recording, if you think about the customer's journey, you have the opportunity to raise awareness or drive consideration, drive purchase, drive loyalty based on the different tools and tactics. So to raise awareness, it could be word of mouth. You can send direct mail. You can do some online and social ads, again, to raise awareness about your catering business. And then if you want consideration, people to consider you, you may want to have a video that might be around, hey, you know, this is something special that I actually do to make my catering event really, really special. Then to drive purchase, you want to have on your website a way for somebody to actually order from you. And they have a lot of online e-commerce that you can attach into your website to get that purchase. You want to make sure that you're servicing your customers through emails and social media. Loyalty, again, through emailing and offers and surveys. How am I meeting your needs? And then ultimately, you want them to be an advocate for you, sending them things, hey, would you share this back out? So again, this customer journey is really, really important. I'm seeing people pop up saying, hey, this is a good slide, because it takes all the things that we're using, and it's a way to think about, how do I use this, and how do I make it work for me if I want to drive awareness, or if I want to drive loyalty. You can then be really strategic in using your resources. Next slide. Again, I can't go deep into a lot of things, but what I do want to tell you is all these slides and things that I got, I love visuals, so I pull a lot of that from Google searches. But you, at your fingertips, literally, you can go to do the beginner's guide to Facebook, tutorial for Instagram, how to tweet, YouTube tutorials. LinkedIn Learning is amazing. There's all types of things. You may have to pay an upcharge to get some of that, but you really can go in and learn more about the specific things that you need. And then overall, there's even social media marketing. You can do that yourself. You can choose to go back to school. You can get your kids to teach you some of the things, but there's all types of things that are at your at your hand that I want to kind of call out in terms of resources. Next slide. A couple of topics that I'm not going to go deep on, but I do want to just kind of dimensionalize them that was help from Miss Val regarding some things that might come up, public relations and e-commerce. So next slide is a little bit about what's the difference between PR and marketing. So marketing is targeting a customer as the audience. We create a strategy to target these consumers, and we use promotions and branding to get them to come to our space. Whereas public relations is targeting and maintaining relationships with customers, similar, but it's relationships instead of just the customer. They want to maintain and really improve the public image. I think that's really, really important. They use free media through press releases, and it's really about gaining positive media coverage. So again, marketing versus PR, there might be there's a lot of overlap, but they are slightly different. And then e-commerce is really just electronic commerce, buying and selling through the internet. And it's blowing up, obviously, with Amazon and Shopify, eBay. But that's really very, very important from an e-commerce perspective. If you have something that you want to sell over the internet, or you want to capture a customer, you can do a physical or you can do a service. Yes, Instacart as well. So I think with that, the next slide, if you stay with us this far, the Marketing 101, I think in my slide I sent over, I think I compressed a lot of stuff. I gave you guys an A+ because you stayed all the way through. I was able to write a chalk mark on there, so we lost that. But I do want to kind of end it right now and open it up for questions. Brittany has a wealth of knowledge as well in terms of some of the specifics around posting or influencer marketing, some areas that we didn't cover, but that is kind of an overview of marketing because there's so many types of folks here. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Brittany, I believe, who will help us moderate or answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I was wondering if you could go back 2 slides to the e-commerce,
Sure.
because I want to really emphasize and drive home where we are, not only in the world right now, but also just what impact you can have as a small business owner. There are over 300 million online shoppers. That means 91% of the country in the US is shopping online. Hello, Amazon Prime membership owners. And that also means that 1 in 4 shop at least.
Uh-oh. We lost you, Brittany.
Oh, all right.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know if everyone heard my statistics about online shopping, but basically 91% of the country shops online. So that means a lot of people have Prime memberships out here, and at least 25% of the country shops at least once a month. For people who are just starting out or just considering starting a business, starting an online business, I found some data about mobility conversion. So people who have small businesses tend to perform better with a 30% higher conversion rate compared to large companies. And I think that's because having a connection to the community, being very connected to your brand makes a huge difference. So don't think that, when she gave the example of the water bottles, if you have your own water bottle brand, that you can't compete. I really love that slide and that exercise.
We lost you again.
in your intention and conversation and engagement with customers or our audience. That also speaks to how well you niche and how well you know your audience. So I think that when you are looking at your customer, your audience, where are they in their life cycle? You know, a good example is pregnant women or mothers. You know, when you register for a baby shower, we know that you need diapers. We know that you need bottles. We know that you need swaddle cloths and things like that. And Target will know that because of how you're shopping. And then over time, they can adapt their marketing to you. So that's just one of the things that you can consider when you're looking at your audience. I'm also going to just look at some questions. I saw that there were some really great ones from the audience. So I'll send this question to you, Leslie. It says, how specifically do you use marketing to drive price point, or is this a factor in who your audience is? What makes some pay $200 per hour for consulting fees and others charge $85 or won't get the business? Do you want to tackle that?
So the question, the kind of the gist of the question is, how do you determine pricing? Repeat the beginning part if you would.
How do you specifically use marketing to drive price point?
So I think the first thing, like we talked about before, and also the differences of $200 versus $85, it's how do you want to position yourself, and also what services you're offering. Somebody that's charging $200 obviously or feels that or has the experience to be able to say, I can give you this level of service, versus somebody that's maybe charging $85 may not have as much expertise or much experience. So that's kind of a little bit, again, about what's the value, that value proposition, what's the value that you're offering, what's your brand all about, and how do you want to offer that value? The second thing you have to look at is what's the market bear from a competitive perspective, doing your competitive analysis, what's the market going to bear? And then I think that third part is also, is it going to be, when you price it, is it going to be profitable? But the consulting piece is tricky because you know, you could talk to a person and they may offer similar services. Somebody might charge 200, somebody might charge 85. But again, I think it is driven by amount of expertise, what you're bringing to the value that you're bringing, and also to be able to demonstrate to people that you're bringing that. And in terms of marketing, to get that, how you show up, again, that brand and the things that you talk about, your brand attributes. If I have 5 brand attributes that are really high level, that's going to make my customer more comfortable about spending that versus maybe somebody that might be more tactical in their support and consulting, that they may say, I'm only going to be comfortable paying 80. So it's marketing, but it's also value that you provide.
Thank you. Another question is, can you build a marketing strategy by yourself?
Yes, you can. I think you need to, you can, but it's also always good to stop and get feedback from your coworkers or from people that are close to you, because if you're an entrepreneur, you are just so immersed in your business. So I think the couple of things I would do with a marketing strategy is find a really good kind of framework or template. One of the template that I kind of shared earlier is just kind of asking you some specific questions. You know, what's your brand? What's your consumer saying about you? What's going on with the market, doing your market research or your competitive assessment. You can do those types of things, maybe put it on paper, and then you have a brainstorming session with your team to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, or everybody go off and do your own thing. Let's come back together. So let's see what's similar, what's different. But that marketing strategy, it should be done at least once a year, maybe, or, you know, if something has changed dramatically, but I think on an annual basis, you should be looking at your marketing strategy and looking at it individually, but also holistically with people that know your business. Good. I heard somebody else.
Definitely changed next year or once we are out of the pandemic phase. So that's such a great point that you brought that up. I see another question here, which is what advice would you give to those who are in the service industry and do not have physical products to sell?
It doesn't, I don't think it's that different. It's still a lot of the same characteristics. Give me a sense of a service. Would accounting be a service? Who asked that question? Maybe give me a service.
Would you like?
Do you mind if I come off mute?
Management.
HR and management. So if you have an HR management service, you're offering a service of value to an organization. So what is unique and different about your HR management service, your human capital services to a company? Why are you different than the HR capital person down the street? It could be your background and experience. You have HR experience only in union run shops, or I have HR experience in, in a diverse workforce. Whatever is your point of difference, then you can kind of think through, that's the value that I offer. And then you can start building out and using some of those same tools and principles. It's just, it shows up differently, that it's a service that you offer instead of an actual product that you give. So these principles, I think, can apply to across the board. You're welcome.
And I think that has a lot to do with what tools you'll invest in. I also think that it's also important to consider, there's a lot of free services, but you also want to consider the time investment in those. What is really important when you're thinking about what you'll invest in is think about your brand, think about what you're trying to sell, what problem you're trying to solve, and then think about, what is your brand, or work with someone who can help you with your branding. There are services like Fiverr, which allows you to find freelancers. There's graphic designers, there's illustrators, there's, I don't know what you call, like production, 3D welder people. There's people who can do the graphic design, actually manage your social media, virtual assistants. Those are services that you can find as low as $5. There's Canva, which is a good service for anyone who has a little bit of knowledge with graphic design. And then if you're thinking about doing a paid strategy, a lot of the things that you talked about with the different channels where you're going to reach people, that's an investment as well. But you definitely want to be very focused on who your audience is and who you're talking to before you start putting money into a paid strategy. Did you want to add on to any of that?
No, you got that. You covered that.
And then the last question is, what is the best method to connect with mid-size or larger companies? Should you connect with procurement departments directly or go through HR departments? I have a health and wellness business and offer educational
workshops. Well, I think first, from your health and wellness business, you can go through some of the steps that we talked about. What is your product or service, right, that you have? Think a little bit about how you priced it. How are you positioning it? It's a health and wellness business. Is it unique and different? How so? So you know what that is. And then you want to think a little bit about, based on what I'm offering, what are the best types of companies that I should go after? Are you health and wellness in a large, you said a mid-size or large company, but do you want to stay in a particular category? Or does it matter if it's large, but if you could be very broad. And then I think in terms of where you go, I think you got to do your homework on that company to find out a little bit more about what's the best way to get in. You know, like you said, procurement or HR. That's a hard. That's not necessarily a marketing question as it is more of a networking question. If you can know people within there, each company has their different way of bringing suppliers in or that. But I think if you can maybe even hit both of them and try to do some networking and relationship to understand, hey, help me understand your business. You're doing your market research, you're doing your consumer research there. You'll better understand that organization to then know, how do I get my product and service in? You're also building that personal relationship with your personal brand so that you can get in there. So even though you know, many times we think research, we think consumer research. When you talk to that company, you're doing your market research to better understand the company. So you better understand, well, what problem do they have, and how can my company or my service solve that problem for them?
I agree with that. I also think that I would consider even networking to be a function of marketing, of word of mouth, of how you speak about your company. You are your own spokesperson. So consider how you are talking about your mission, the services that you have. That's also an opportunity to brand and extend your brand beyond, you know, what a physical brand is. I work in the digital space. So, you know, websites are also, I like to think of a website as a 24-hour business card. So it does a little bit of the work for you when you're sleeping. So,
yeah.
Another question is conversion data available for marketing to Facebook groups?
I'll have to ask you to answer that.
Yeah. So there's a difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page. A Facebook page offers a little deeper insights. A Facebook group really only tells you sort of demographic information. It'll tell you, I do believe groups will tell you how many people saw that post, how many people were able to connect or engagement in that way. But I would always recommend doing a Facebook page. And I do believe you can convert a Facebook group to a page. A page will give you a lot more insight on effectiveness, and it will also tell you about the insights over a certain time frame as well. So you can see, was your post or your strategy effective? I hope that was helpful. I want to thank you, Leslie, and I know that we have some additional comments from our Target chair. So I would love to introduce Latanya Walker.
Thank you so much, Brittany. My name is Latanya Walker, and I'm the Target 3 Building Your Economic Legacy chairperson of Lambda to Omega chapter. I'd like to first thank all of you in our audience for joining us this evening. I would just love to thank our fabulous panelist, Ms. Leslie Truelove. I am forever indebted to you for just allowing me to have breakfast all day from McDonald's, despite all of your many accomplishments, okay? So what great information that you gave us tonight, and we just are grateful to you for working with us both behind the camera and in front of the camera to make tonight happen. So thank you so much. I'd also like to thank my co-chairs, Renee Collins and Valentine Arnold, for working so diligently to bring this webinar to fruition. My sincerest appreciation to our dynamic chapter leadership under Dr. Leah Hill and Michelle R. Clark, our president and vice president, respectively. Thank you so much for your great moderating, Brittany Wright. Yvonne Williams behind the scenes for your great administrating. Ashley Carr, I'm not sure if she's here with us tonight, but she did some excellent work with our presentations. So I am grateful to every chapter soror and every individual that helped bring this webinar to fruition, because this was great information. And once again, I'm sure you've given birth to some entrepreneurs tonight. I'm positive of that. I'd also like to make sure that you receive our certificate of appreciation, Ms. Truelove, for your great work. I'm not sure if you can see that or not.
Thank you.
We'll make sure we get that to you because I'm sure we'll be coming back to you again now that we have you. We won't let you go. I'd also like to invite everyone to join us next week. We will be doing a webinar again Wednesday, September the 23rd at 6 p.m. as you can see on your screen. That topic is access to capital, and that'll be presented by Vicki Brown of the Small Business Development Center. Please look at our chat. We have an evaluation survey for our webinar. We'd love your response. And if there are no other questions and comments, I'd like everyone to have a great evening, be well, and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, guys. Very nicely done. You guys are top notch. Very nicely done. Thank you.
We so appreciate you. Great questions, great information today. So we're so appreciative. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Lisa. I'm going to sign off. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Please do the survey.
Yep.
Yeah.